Am I mad at the hospital for serving terrible, unhealthy food? Am I mad at the medical schools for not teaching enough nutrition to future doctors? Or am I mad at doctors for not offering up, like as the first question, what do you eat before you start slinging the pills and procedures?
Oh my gosh, another wonderful time in the Veganpreneur REVOLUTION Podcast. I'm Velan Hawkins. I'm your co-host along with my dear colleague, Kathleen Gage. And we are here today interviewing one of our favorite people in the whole wide world. Haven't known him for so long, but you know how those people just come into your life and they just have such a presence, such a genuine, authentic. Wait a minute, maybe I'm saying too much. I don't want to blow your head up.
I'm a humble person. I trust you. Trust me, I'm a humble person.
Yes, you are. And that's one of the endearing things we love about you, Paul. This is Paul Chatlin. He is co-founder of the Sage Circle Alliance. He is founder of Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. And I'm going to let him tell you all about himself because he's got this fabulous story that we're going to dive into today. And Kathleen, do you have anything to add before we get started?
I just want to say Paul is my brother from another mother. I mean, this guy, he and I, we've had to have been on many, many journeys in many lifetimes before this, but that's a whole nother podcast. So Paul, great to see you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with my friends.
Awesome. Well, let's start. We always start at the beginning, which is wherever you take us to the early days of Paul as a kid. You know, what kind of kid were you? I can imagine, but what kind of kid were you? And then your journey to this whole food, plant-based space that we're in now.
Well, I'm glad you asked me what kind of kid I was. I'll tell you a little story, and then I'll tell you my story. Okay. So the little story is, my dad was a workaholic. So we would not see much of him. His dad was a workaholic. And my mom is the one who was the center of my life and brought me up. When I was in third grade, my mom was asked to come to school because there was a problem. My teacher, so I went with my mom and we sat with the teacher and she said, Paul's got a little bit of a problem. After about 5 minutes of me teaching, maybe 10, he kind of checks out. So maybe you need to get him tested for something. And my mom said, Paul, get up. I'm like, yes, I always listen to my mom. And we walked out. And it's interesting how now I am so many years older, 50 plus years older. And that teacher might have been right. She might have been right. It's something that I openly tell everybody. It's like, if you don't capture me totally, for whatever reason, I start thinking of other things, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it isn't so good. So that's the kind of person I was, but I love sports. I was that kid who'd go to bed with a baseball game in his ear. I loved everything about every sport. I played all sports in high school, football, basketball, and baseball. I got a scholarship for college baseball. I travel around the world with a very high-level baseball team. I love baseball. Funny enough, I don't really love it anymore because I was a pitcher, and now I find the game a little boring, or I'd rather be doing stuff myself. Now my story. Thank you for listening on that one. So as I tell my story, and I've told the story hundreds of times over 12 years, but it really started for me as a very young person, maybe between the ages of 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. You see, my dad, he had 3 brothers. And during a 3-year period, he, along with 3 other brothers, all had heart issues. Now, 2 of them had to get bypass surgery and died at the table. Another one, my closest uncle, he got through the surgery, but mentally they had to institutionalize him. And I loved him. I mean, he was a close uncle. He was the one where my dad couldn't make things. He was the one who drove me to baseball and took me places. My dad had the bypass surgery, and lived for another 18 years. But I remember seeing him in the hospital crying. I mean, you can imagine what bypass surgery was way back then. It's still pretty grotesque, really grotesque now. But back then, I saw him for 4 days just in agony and pain. Now, allow me to kind of move forward. I'm a father of 3 sons. It's important I say that to you. So now I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. I'm doing what most people do. I'm getting doctor physicals and checkups. And all of a sudden, my doctor says, your cholesterol is really high. I said, well, what is it? What should it be? And he says, it's about 350. Now, you should have a cholesterol number of under 100, an LDL under 100 or 50. I mean, as a heart patient, should be under 50, just so everyone knows that. And I said, okay, well, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to put you on medication right now. So here I am, probably just around 30 years old, started the medication. They had 3 choices back then. The first one was Zocor, which they still have today. But after about 3 weeks, I got the side effects of it. So I woke up one day, could hardly walk. I mean, it was like the muscle enzymes were so high. So I called the doctor. I said, something's wrong with me. I could barely walk. He said, get off the medication right away. 3 days later, I was fine. So I went and saw him, and then he put me on Lipitor. And everyone has heard about Lipitor. 7 months into that, side effects, got off that medication. So the only other medication that was out there was Pravastatin. Now, all these have generic names today, but Pravastatin was the most mild of statins, and he gave me the maximum amount of 80 milligrams every day, but all it could do is drop me down to about 250 to 280. Wow. And he said to me, well, just have skim milk, diet cheeses, like eat some whole wheat bread, like eat more fish. And that was all he could give me at that time. Now we go forward. So I'm on this for about 20 years. Wow. And maybe 24 years. And I go see the doctor, and I'll back up a half step here. I wake up one day and I'm like, wow, my chest is really hurting. Mm-hmm. You've heard they say that people with heart disease, heart attacks, heart issues, it is like an elephant on your chest. Mm-hmm. That is a great way to explain it. All of a sudden, I felt so much pressure in my chest. So I would just lay there in the bed, and it would just go away after about a half an hour. So I would then just conduct my day. And then it would come back late into the evening a little bit, and I'd go to sleep. And then this would go on for 3 months. And I never said a word to my wife because it was not a good move on my part, but I love her so much. I just didn't want her to worry about me or be worried. And I kept thinking, maybe tomorrow it will go away. I was pretty naive. No, I was incredibly naive. So I decided to go see the doctor, and he heard a heart murmur that he had not heard before. I had already a left bundle block by birth. So he says, you know what, with this heart murmur, I need you to go see a cardiologist tomorrow. So he made an appointment with the local cardiologist. And then I went through a battery of tests up to a heart catheter and a heart biopsy. So I got all the ultrasounds, echocardiograms, I got everything done. This was an older cardiologist that was referred to me by my current doctor at that time. And, the doctor looked at me and says, listen, Paul, I've done thousands of these, and I'm sorry to say, but you're going to need either immediate bypass surgery or a heart transplant. And I'm like, okay, the bypass, it kind of made sense to me. Every male in the family died or had bypass in their 50s. 3 out of 4 died. I didn't want to die. I was a father of 3 sons, So I decided right then, I've just got to tell my wife. So on the way home, I said, I need to talk to you. And we went into her conference room, and I started explaining what was going on. And she was just in tears. And her boss walked by and said, what is going on here? And we sat him down, and I explained what was going on. Well, about, I don't know, 2-3 months prior, believe it or not, I think his wife had a lung transplant at the Cleveland Clinic. Now, again, I was given 3 miracles, but his wife was probably in her late 60s, early 70s, and she got that a lot quicker. I know he made an incredible donation. Again, I don't ask questions what people do with their money. I felt bad in my heart about the person who was going to get that lung, but it wasn't my decision. He said, hold on for a second. Let me make a couple calls. And within about 20 minutes, I had an appointment at the Cleveland Clinic the day before I was scheduled to go to the local hospital to get a heart catheter and biopsy done. So my wife and I make the journey, and, to get into the Cleveland Clinic, it isn't that easy.
Right. We know that.
Yeah. I got in pretty quick. So I get into the Cleveland Clinic having never been there before. And I always show this when I'm doing a podcast, because to this moment, maybe I could show it up here. Maybe it will pick up. Okay, let me just read it to you. They assigned me a cardiologist. His title was Director of Heart Failure, Intensive Care Unit, Section of Heart Failure and Cardiac Transplant Medicine. So all my information was sent to him, or sent to the Cleveland Clinic. They have to assign a cardiologist. And based on the information that was sent, they believed I needed a heart transplant. Now, again, there are some surgeries out there that you sit there and say, okay, I get it, But when they say heart transplant, it's like really scary.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I went through and got all the tests done. And then I was scheduled for a 6-7 o'clock heart catheter. And that's really the only way they know the health of your arteries. Anything else is a good guess, but until they do a heart catheter, they don't know. So I remember, and this is a moment that I don't mind sharing with everybody. I always had a lot of pride, and I lost all my pride that day and became a humble person, because just before I had the procedure of the heart catheter, 4 strange nurses came in and shaved me top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Now you think about it. I'm on this drip, so I'm kind of out of it. I'm not totally out of it, but I'm kind of out of it. And for like an hour waiting for the procedure, I'm looking at my naked self, like just laughing. I'm like, wow, I'm all shaved. It was just, I found it funny. Okay. So I now go in, get the heart catheter done, and I hear my doctor going, yes, yes, yes. And finally, it was done. He says, Paul, listen, we do need to do immediate bypass surgery. You have 100% block of your right artery, but you do not need a heart transplant. However, you have leaky valves, an enlarged heart, scarsidosis of the right side of the heart, a left bundle block, a heart murmur. I was a total mess, but I needed bypass surgery. So they prep you with that shaving to go into bypass surgery. So I'm being wheeled in, and keep in mind, my first miracle was getting into the Cleveland Clinic. The second one was being assigned to my doctor, who I had never known or met until that morning. And we get right to the surgical door, and he's like, all right, how about this? If you're willing to make a lifestyle change, maybe you don't need surgery. Yes. Like I said, yes, because I'm thinking this is what happened to my uncles and my dad. Immediately thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
While I was on the gurney, I said, like people do this all the time. God, if you get me out of this one, I promise I'll serve and I'll give back. And he said he's only done it to one other person in 20 years, and that person failed him. Like in retrospect, I wonder why only did he do it to one? Like, why wouldn't he do it to almost everyone? But I said yes to a lifestyle change. I had no idea what that meant. I had absolutely no idea. So it's now about 8:30, 9 o'clock. He gets his cell phone. He makes a call. And it's something like, hi, Essie, this is Maze.
Oh, my gosh.
He says, I got somebody I want you to talk to. Now, remember, this is 12 plus years ago.
I love it.
He hands me the phone, and it's like, hi, this is Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Why don't you just recover and go on home, and I'll call you in the morning. Okay, bye. Sure enough, by the time we make it home, it's like 5 a.m. because I needed recovery time. My wife said, let's just get a hotel. I'm like, I just love my bed and my pillow, my blankie. So I wanted to go home. Okay. Got home at 5. Sure enough, 8:00, this stranger's calling me. I spent about 45 minutes on the phone. I went and got his book. I read it. And then I started to wonder, oh my God, what did I get myself into? The next thing I did is I went to Whole Foods. Not that it was Whole Foods, any grocery store would have been fine. I spent 4 hours label reading. Wow. Okay, now keep in mind, growing up, I was a meataholic. I was 230 pounds. I don't want to say of all muscle, but I was a power lifter. I when I stopped playing baseball, I lifted. I loved working out. I was always active. And I was like 5'9.5", 230 pounds.
Mm.
And I didn't eat many vegetables. I kind of liked a few fruits, didn't have many beans, didn't mind bread, but didn't like whole wheat bread. It was always that, oh, can you give me white bread with the olive oil? And I and give me like 4 of them so I could dunk it. And just, that was me. I loved sugar. Give me not 1 Coke, give me 3 or 4 Cokes. Because I always thought if I work out and I'm in good shape, I'm healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So now after talking to Dr. Esselstyn, I said, oh man, am I in for it? But I said, you made a promise that you're going to try this lifestyle change for the sake of your sons. So at the same time, because I mentioned I had an enlarged heart and leaky valves, the only way to shrink that heart is a muscle, is to not use it that much. So they gave me this elixir of pills. And for the next 3 months, I was in bed rest. Not good for a guy who's hyper. So, it was like, here was my life. I'd take the pills. I'd sleep like 8 hours. I'd be up for a few, take the pills again, sleep another 8 to 10 hours. And then I had to learn how to cook. I had to make food. So it was so funny because it was like, wow, I'm making vegetables. I don't want to eat them. Like, I just didn't like them. I didn't like them, just so everybody knows, because my mom and I, one of our biggest fights was always, you're going to eat these canned beans or peas. And I'd look at her and go, oh, no, I'm not. She says, well, yes, you are. I got all night. And I tell you what, beans don't taste any better if they're cold or they're warm.
So do you still feel that way, Paul? Do you still say that beans don't taste good?
That has changed.
Okay.
But it was like my mom would wait me out and, she won and I'd eat cold beans or cold peas, but she did what was best, I guess. I know it. So here I am now starting to eat the foods I swore I didn't enjoy.
Right.
Well, but I had to because I was on bed rest. And then about day 14, something, again, miraculous occurred. My angina went away. I stopped having chest pain.
Interesting.
And about day 17, I started saying, broccoli isn't that bad. Well, cauliflower is not so bad. And to this day, I don't love it, but I could eat it and not hate it. And to anybody who's listening, I think the secret to all this lifestyle change is acceptance.
Right.
The fact is that, in my past life, I would have a whole pizza and then I'd feel terrible in my stomach. I was happy to eat it, but I would feel terrible. I'd loosen up the belt buckle. I was like, oh, I can't move, and I just look at things differently. Now I eat. I may not love everything, but I'm not stuffed and I'm not in pain going to bed and waking up. So this continued on for a period of time, and I started getting healthier and healthier. And my goodness, the weight just started dropping. Within 3 months, I had lost over 30 pounds. I started feeling just dandy. And then I started remembering this promise I made about giving back. And it meant something to me. So I went to the Esselstyn's cooking class. Keep in mind, there were only 3 cookbooks back then, 3. And I took a half-day class. I think it was like $750. Back then, it was a little pricey. But I thought, oh my God, that's the good Lord telling me that that's what I'm going to go after. I'm going to work with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, And I'm going to get a pay code so people who want to do lifestyle change and improve their health don't have to pay for it out of their pocket. Insurance will take care of it. So for the next, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks, I got to the highest level at Blue Cross Blue Shield. They denied me every step of the way.
Mhm.
It said you have to work with the Michigan legislature to make that type of change. And Michigan happens to be the second biggest dairy producer. That wasn't going to happen. Plus, it was an hour and 40-minute drive to the Capitol. So it was like, no, this is not what I want to do. So instead, I said, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll put a $20 ad in my local paper, and I'll just say, listen, I was able to reverse heart disease. If you're interested, I'm inviting the first 20 people to my house. And within 2 days, I got 20 people who wanted to come over. And it was wonderful. They were all had heart disease. And I'd make a meal for them. It wasn't anything elaborate, but they'd have their beans and rice and their salad. And, but they were nice people who were looking for help. And I'd show them all my kitchen gadgetry, and we just talk. And what's interesting of the first 20, 18 became what I call small group hosts of PBNSG. And I did it another month. And within, again, about 2-3 days, another 20 people. I'm like, wow, I'm onto something. But
hey, Paul, let me ask you this before, I don't want to go too far off the beam here, but what is the initials again, and what does that stand for?
The plant PBNSG. I'll make this advertisement right now. The Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group is the only national support group. So you could reach us at www.pbnsg.org.
Okay.
We are a 501c3. We are the place you go to after you see your doctor, have your community potluck, because we have some 15 activities, virtual, online, every single month, from speaking, culinary, and we have something called strategic support groups. So if you're a diabetic, you want to lose weight, if you want to understand how to cook, if you have heart disease, anything that ails you, we've got a group, and for a whopping $10 a month.
I was going to say, is there a charge for that? Because
$10 a month. So I think it's very affordable.
Is your life worth $10? Yeah. And what year was it that you got that call with Dr. Esselstyn?
It was, let's see if it's 2013, 14.
Okay. Which is interesting because you got the direct line to the God of the plant-based movement. I mean, seriously.
As it relates to heart disease. And
I have to tell you, listening to what you said about the Cleveland Clinic, I have a friend that actually is headed there in about a week because he's got radiation heart disease. When he was a teenager, he had cancer and had radiation. Well, apparently that's a thing. And they're going to put something in him. It's the last time they can do it. And they give him a window of 7 years. But he's going to the Cleveland Clinic.
Goodness.
Yeah. Which is, they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. So anyway, so the organization, you started that now, how did that fast forward into what you're doing today?
Well, do you want me to jump to that, or can I finish my story?
Oh, you can finish it. Okay, like I said, he is my brother from another mother. It's like, just cut through the chase. Tell me what you want, Paul.
I mean, I'm giving you like the nice, slow, happy version. Okay, let me wrap it up. Okay, so I realized people were asking me a lot of medical questions, so I realized I needed a doctor by my side.
Okay.
I went to the main hospital here in Michigan, to the head of cardiology. I said, give me 3 lifestyle type cardiologists. I went to 3 different hospitals. They all gave me the same name. One name was repeated. It was Dr. Joel Kahn. Never met the guy, never heard about the guy. I said, well, if you're the one who's the constant, I'll meet you first. When I met him, I didn't have to go see the other 2. He has been with me from day one. He is the most brilliant man I've ever met, both medically, and he could just remember everything. And he's a friend. And I don't have to agree with all his thoughts and how he looks at life. He has never said no to me, and I've never said no to him. He's a friend. So that all being said, we decided let's blow it up a little bit. Let's have it. So he got me a place at the hospital. In the very first meeting, we had room for 80. We had 123 people. We said, well, let's do this again. By the way, now you're getting the fast version. Okay.
No, this is great. It's
From 20 to 80.
Yeah.
What comes next? I'm intrigued.
Okay, so then the following month, we do it again. We had 141 people.
Whoa.
And you're thinking to myself, wow, this is great. So we're going to have a third one. But 2 days before the third one, the hospital boots us out saying, nah, you can't do it. You're getting too big. They had another place, but they were promoting the standard American diet, and we were talking about plant-based. So here's Paul running around the city going, got to find a place. Found it. The Birmingham school systems, I bring them up all the time. They opened up their heart, their doors to us, and we were part of their family for about 12 years. And what we do is have a live speaker event every single month, multiple culinary events every single month. And then we had something called small groups. Small groups were community groups. At the peak, we had 54 groups, not only in Michigan, but in 5 other states. We had planned to expand nationally, but then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I kind of take a little pride in this. COVID hit like January-ish, February, 3-4 years ago. As soon as I heard about it, we immediately stopped all activities because the majority of our connections and members were 60 and older. And I could not live with myself if anybody got COVID at an event. And that's how we became Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group, the virtual side. So it's really our next chapter, the next part of our life. So today, PBNSG, for only $10 a month, offers you virtual support. Plus, we have the most extensive library. One of the few great things I ever did was I recorded every single thing we've ever done. So if you want to hear Gregor, if you want to hear Ornish, I've had the who's who speak at PBNSG multiple times. Now, I could tell you all the great things that people say I did, like create a medical course material, do a doctors teaching doctors, spend a year with General Motors trying to get them convinced to go plant-based. They called me and they needed to help with their retirees and got as far as the very top. And she said, well, I don't think we're ready for this. That's a year of my life that I tried. But if she would have said yes, it might have been life-changing, world-changing. Right. GM does it, then Ford does it, then everybody else does it. So I was swinging for the fences multiple times. The important thing here is lifestyle change is tough. It is really tough. Now, I see it doable. Like if you get rid of animals, that's tough. But once you get rid of oil, it's really tough. It's tough going out. It's tough ordering in. It's tough in your circle. It's tough with your wife, husband. It's tough with your family. The only person who doesn't care is your dog. She still loves you. My whole point being here is that you need support. So, you go to a once a month community potluck. Where do you go the next day, the next week when you need help? You go to a doctor. Doctor doesn't ask you, what do you eat? He says, here, let's throw another script your way. Let's do this. When you leave the doctor's office, he doesn't see you for 6 months or a year, or if there's an emergency. You need support. We offer support.
Nice.
That all being said, this is my segue now into the Sage Circle Alliance. I believe that part of being humble is you have to be an open book. And I write open letters. And it's kind of just what I think, what I feel, because I know I'm not the only one. And about 6 months ago, I was like, why can't this move faster? Like, why is it that the headline speakers in the plant-based world, they're all doing fine. They got, they're paid. They got, sponsors, they get donations, they get all this stuff. And again, I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. I'm not that, but it was like, why am I still just struggling? And why did I have to go to the bank and take $10,000 to do the payroll for a couple months? Like, why? It's like, why? Or why aren't we all working together? Because right now there's all these individuals, and then I thought, well, the Dairy Association by the way, my 2 jobs, 2 of the 3 jobs I had in my whole life. One was I was a district manager at Land O'Lakes Butter Company.
Oh my gosh.
And I was the guy who would eat that 5-pound cheddar every weekend. Loved it. And then I left Land O'Lakes and was the regional director at Stouffer Food Company.
Holy
Oh my
I
cow.
literally did
Literally,
not,
holy cow.
I didn't buy dinner for a year. I'd have that French bread pizza and all that chip beef. And I, like,
lasagna.
oh my, I had mac and cheese, and it was never just one lasagna, it was double up, So like, it's no wonder why I was a heart attack person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in the open letter, I just said, I kind of even did it off the cuff. Like, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we created a union, alliance, association, where not the people at the very top, even though if you're watching, you're all invited. Okay, we got Dr. Furman, we got Will Tuttle, we got Celeste Rauch, we got some headliners that people know, but not many people know Meryl Fury, our co-founder. Not many people know Paul Chatlin, and I've been working hard for years. So like, how do we get to be known? And yet, what's funny? You never see any issues with the Dairy Association or the Meat Packing. So, anything to do with meat and dairy, they're the happiest people in the world. They're making record profits. They're charging enormous amounts, and there's no issues between them. I thought it'd be a great idea if we could have a union, an alliance of like-minded people. So it was amazing. I sent that letter out within 2 hours of it being sent. I had heard of Meryl Fury before I helped her organization get started with Dr. Steve Loam.
Awesome. Okay.
But like, I'm not going to, it didn't work out the way I'd hoped with Dr. Steve, right? Steve,
Yeah.
you know what you did.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that even Meryl took over, but she calls me up. She goes, let's do this. And I'm like, wow, she's kind of spunky. I like that. And it's been a year, and I'm willing to say right now in front of everybody, I love Meryl Fury. She is a fine human being.
Yes, she is.
We love her too.
Yes, we do. She's a lovable person.
She's
the real deal. She's the real deal.
Good human being, and you can't
Really
find
is.
many of them like that,
Right.
So she said, let's do this. And all of a sudden I'm like, I got like 30 or 40 messages and emails from some people I knew and some people I had no idea who they are, like you two. And it was like, wow. Now, some of the people aren't with us because other things happen in people's lives. But to those people who I'm closest to, I'm close to everybody, but the people I work with a lot, I am so very lucky that you entered my life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, I'm a better person because of it. I appreciate that. And so here we are, 1 year old with the Sage Circle Alliance. And, it's a long game, everybody. That's the thing about the Sage Circle. It's like the plant-based nutrition is similar to the Sage Circle Alliance, meaning both organizations make me work 40, 50, 60 hours. So currently I'm working about 1 million hours a week. However, they give us all hope. And the one thing that I'm always reminded of as a person is, sometimes, like someone said to me, well, hey, it took 50 years for the cigarette industry to, know that they can't get away with it. But I say to them, well, that was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have the social media. Right. We didn't have the speed. I mean, the fact is smoking's bad. Fact is meat, dairy, oil, bad. So it should go faster. Why isn't it? That all being said, I realize that my role is to help build a foundation. Mm-hmm. Because you can't have what you want without a good foundation. So the Sage Circle Alliance, for many of us, is foundational building, because I still am a father of 3 good sons with grandkids, and I love them. And for me to say I love them means I love them. I want them to enjoy their life, this planet, love animals, and the grandkids. So that's what gets me up, and that's what gets me going every day.
I love it.
That is just beautiful, beautiful.
Hey, can I share? I'm drinking something. Let me just have some fun for a moment. I'm going to see if I could tip it without putting it on my.
And I'll show you what I'm drinking too. So what is it?
Can't do it.
Cannot see it. Cannot see it. What is it?
All right. Here, everyone get a pencil. Here we go. It's okay. So cool. Take 4 tea bags of hibiscus tea.
Okay.
Then add in. I like to add in apples and oranges, blueberries, grapes, whatever fruit you want, whatever you can do, pine, any fruit,
Okay.
And then add water to the top of the pitcher, maybe like a half gallon, maybe a tad less,
Okay.
then throw it in the refrigerator. And within 24 hours, it will turn the hibiscus tea will turn that dark tea look.
Okay.
And it is like infused water. And it's been my replacement for like fake lemonade that I make without sugar that really doesn't taste so good.
Right.
But I had so much fun coming up with the fruit combination, and I'm always playing around with it, but try it. It's much better than water. Hibiscus tea is the number one tea for people's health to take on. So I get the best of both worlds. There's your recipe.
Okay. So how much of apple or orange do you put in there?
I put one apple, one orange.
One apple.
I cut it up. Yeah, I cut everything up, and it floats to the top and keep the tea bags underneath.
Okay.
And then, like I said, I've been playing around with pineapple, some mango.
Right.
You play around with it. It's fun to do it. It's fun.
And what's hibiscus good for? What does it do for the body?
Well, I think you have the ability to look at Google and find out, because I'm not a scientist. However,
but from what you know,
I just read that Dr. Greger, I did this the other day. I think here was my OCD issue. It said Dr. Greger endorses hibiscus tea as the number one tea to drink. Now, he had like 2 more paragraphs. I was on to something else. See, I just gave you the circle of Paul's life right there.
Okay. So, but here's my drink. This is actually a green drink, but why it turns red. And I drink this every day, a pitcher full, and it's actually beets, whole root beets that I put in. Yeah, it's amazing. I've got chia seeds, flax seeds. And so, I love the conversation about the way to eat healthy, because obviously your life changed a lot in the 12 years you've been doing this. And honest to God, I have to say,
I'll show you a picture. Wait, hold on. You're going to get a laugh out of this. You can see a chunkier Paul. You ready?
Okay.
Now, I don't know if can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Okay, I'm not coming back. No, all right. Now, this is when this
Let me
is
put my glasses on.
This is 20 years ago.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to make sure you can see it because it's
okay. Oh my gosh! Yes. Holy heck!
That's you on the end.
Isn't that dad bod?
You like that? No, but that was Paul the workout guy. I mean, look at
a lot of muscle, but yeah, wow.
That's a 235
Paul. Muscle, yeah, but a lot of muscle that ended up almost getting your heart changed.
Oh God!
I mean, it's
Mr.
crazy.
Bulk.
Hey, I wanted just if you guys could indulge one more kind of like advertisement, and this is a health advertisement.
Oh, absolutely. You just share what you want to share, and I want to talk more about Sage Circle Alliance, and I know V-Lynn does too. We want you to share with our audience what it is and what your vision for it is. So right. Okay, we're going to indulge you one more time until the next time.
Then you can just beat me up with questions. A year and a half ago, angina came back to me. Okay. I thought I was told that I was heart attack proof. My cholesterol, which I told you was around 350, got down to 77. My LDL was 44. Okay. So I was heart attack proof, right? Why was I having chest pains again? Like I couldn't walk. I was exactly where I was 12 years earlier.
Holy heck.
I go to the doctor and they discover something kind of new that's out there. And anybody who's listening to this, you need to go ask your doctor if you got heart issues. What is my lipoprotein little a?
Yes.
LP little a.
LP little a.
What they've discovered is it's another way of making a lot of plaque. Your LP little a should be under 50. Again, my LP little a was 362. Now, here's the thing. The high cholesterol is not as much genetic. You earn that by eating bad and lifestyle. LP little a is genetic. And what you find out is when you're about 2 years old, that's your LP little a number. It doesn't change. So I'm sitting there a year and a half ago, back at the Cleveland Clinic, ready for bypass again, because my what is that? The Widowmaker.
Yeah.
Was 99% blocked. Now you got to remember this. If it's 100%, I'm dead. Number one. Number two is I waited 5 weeks to get back to the Cleveland. Like my whole family's going, go locally. You need a stent. You need bypass. Go look. I'm like, no, I want to go back to where I feel comfortable at the Cleveland Clinic. And I was, if I waited a few more weeks, I probably wouldn't be on this call right now. But I got a stent put in. And I'm letting you know that I was, for the first time ever, like depressed. Not crazy depressed, but it was like I had a kind of an effort attitude toward a lot of things for about 2-3 months. Where I'm saying I did everything I could. I changed my life. I changed my family. I stopped. I didn't travel as much. I did all these things. I gave, and like I still got the stent. Now, here's the cool part. There's a cool part to this. That is when you get the stent put in, immediately you feel better. That's just so everybody knows. Mm-hmm. The stent technology has improved greatly. So this one stent I have, I may have other ones, but this one will last me the rest of this lifetime. I also got asked to be part of the LP(a) study. There are 2 drug companies currently, Norvac and Amgen, are doing phase 3 studies for an LP(a) drug. And in phase 2, they saw in one of them a 75% reduction, and in the other one, a 95% reduction. So when phase 3 ends in a year and a half, a year will pass, they have to crunch numbers, then they go to the FDA. So anybody who's got a high LP(a), relief and hope is on the way. It could take 2-3 years, but it's on the way. So I just wanted everyone to know about my story and how I was afflicted and affected by LP(a) issues.
This is the first time I'm hearing about LP(a), and what I want to emphasize to people is, had you not been eating the way that you've been eating, the plant-based lifestyle, you would have been dead a long time ago. I mean, let's be real. It shocks me that people continue to be in denial. And here you're saying, okay, I still had to get the stent put in, and I still have certain challenges. And yet the reality is because of the way that you're supporting your health, you have minimized your risk of early death.
Hey, right on, sister. And I would say to you this, to anybody else, you make the lifestyle change. It's tough. But here's one thing that you get that they don't talk enough about. I'm 66 years old, okay?
Youngster.
I was going to say, he's a baby. He's a baby.
You want me to tell everybody how old you are?
You can tell them. Actually, in 2 days, I'll be 70. So
okay. Well, you guys rock for, but
I'll be 70.
Yeah, I'm just saying that like my buddies who I got, like 8 buddies I hang out with on Thursday, I make dinner for them and try to convince them to be plant-based. You just get around people in their 67s, like, I'm on this pill, or I feel bad, or this hurts, or that hurts. And then when it comes to me, like, what's wrong? I go, nothing. I'm good. So to me, like if I have that for the next 10 or 15 years, well worth the lifestyle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well worth it.
And Paul, I want to share, I recently went to an insurance meeting because I switched insurance companies because of Medicare, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting, it's a room of about 200 people, all in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And many are coming in on, like you can tell they are obviously not healthy at all. A lot of obesity, the usual fare. So the woman sitting next to me, we start chatting about prescription drugs because they're talking about our benefits. And I said, I don't really need that one. And she goes, oh, well, I'm on 22 prescription drugs. And I said, 22? Woman next to me on the other side tells me she's on 5. And they said, are you seriously not on any? I'm like, I'm seriously not on any. And so all I know is I love your story, because if anything were to happen to me with my health, I know that I'm doing everything possible to minimize the risk. So I love your story. And I know B. Lynn's got a boatload of questions. So I'm gonna pass it over to my co-host. Yeah, I know. It's like, okay, so Paul.
I'm quiet now.
She pokes fun at me for talking fast. What can I say?
I want to say that, going back to and I'm glad this came up, because there are too many people who have never heard about LP(a). And, there's a saying that genetics is 10% of what could be wrong with you, and 90% is lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And the 10%, that's where LP(a) comes in. And I know 2 other people, which is really strange, who have it. Dr. Akil Teher being one. And he just found out at his 74th year checkup, when he was just like, there's something just a little off and I want to find out what it is. And they ran some tests and this came back. So I want to ask you, what tests did you do that they actually gave? Was it a blood test where they were actually
Yeah.
looking for a particular enzyme or something?
Before I give you that answer, if anybody, there was a period of time where I didn't know about this phase study. So I sent an email to the world and said, what do you do when you have high LP(a)? It came back from somebody that for 1 year, I took a concoction of supplements and it lowered it by taking 18 supplements a day. It was crazy. That's too much. But because open book, and I've got other people who have heart disease in the plant-based group in my life, I would take it, get my blood test, and by just taking the supplements, it lowered it from 360 down to 203. So it did improve. It didn't get rid of it. I was still 4 times higher than I should have been. But the way to find out about your LP(a) is a lipid panel. But here's the catch. If you tell your doctor, hey, I want a lipid panel, they could charge you $600-700. I think it's good to have one time, okay, no matter what. I think it's just good because it tells you everything that makes you, your levels, iron, potassium. It goes deep into a lot of different things. Or you go to the doctor and you say, just do a lipid panel for LP(a), and it may cost $30-35. I just strongly recommend people know about it if they're concerned about their heart issues. There's your answer.
So what is it? I'm still confused. It's kind of like, when I first heard of Sage Circle Alliance, it's like, well, what is it? And we're going to get into that. But how's that for a segue? I seriously I've never heard of this. I don't know what it is. Give me
it's not being a doctor. I would do a disservice in the explanation of it. I would ask just kindly, there's a lot of really good information out there. Okay. And I would say, just look into it. Again, when I get feeded into like a depth medical thing, I've learned over 12, 13 years, I don't want to say something that could come back. I'm not a doctor.
Right. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Appreciate that, actually. But to your point, it really is important to have the tests done and to know what kind of tests that you want to get done. And I love the fact that you had this group that you could go to and, put the question in there and basically get some answers dropped out to you where you were able to say, okay, this sounds good. That sounds good. And then the ones that you could really rely on. And I think that, segue into not just PBNSG, where a lot of these great people, knowledgeable experts are, but they are also a part of the Sage Circle Alliance. And I've got a few other questions for you about the Sage Circle Alliance, but why don't you just tell our audience, what was you kind of mentioned the impetus for getting it started. What is the vision that you have for the Alliance? And what do you see as the foundational workings of the Sage Circle Alliance?
Well, I mentioned that, first of all, for me personally, I am an animal lover. I mean, let's see if we
love her. What's her name? Sophie?
Sophie.
Aww.
Beautiful.
Aww, look at Sophie.
I've said I'm probably not going to keep reminding my wife I used to say to her, don't ever ask me to choose between you and Sophie and then of course it reminds me of my favorite joke of all time. If you really want to know who loves you, put your dog and your wife in the trunk, let them there for about 4 hours, open up the trunk, who's happy to see you? My point is, I always, like at PBNSG, there was a moment about 4 or 5 years in where I had to make a decision. Either I stay in the health lane, right, but I really, because of my love for animals, I wanted to expand to animals and the planet. Mm-hmm. The planet, hello, people, we only got one of them, treat it nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I had to stay in the health area because plant-based, whole food plant-based really helps diabetes, obesity, and so many other modalities. So I stayed right there. Okay. Expanded in the health world. The Sage Circle Alliance allowed me to go into 2 areas that meant a lot to me, animals and the planet. while taking care of human health.
Mhm.
That's number one. Number two, I've got a lot of wonderful hosts and facilitators who work at PBNSG as a volunteer. And these are some of the most committed people and kindest people. And, you spend time to make that statement that they're kind and committed. And what was consistent with every one of us was they were working their hearts out for all the right reasons, but were just getting by. And sometimes they weren't getting by, and some people had to fold up, and I kept thinking, I don't get it. Like we got to change this. So my whole impetus of this was to create just a bigger platform with a lot of the same people. We've got a lot of people who work and volunteer at PBNSG are part of the Sage Circle, but a whole bunch of even more new friends and new people. But the whole purpose was simply to share resources, have a voice. What I love about it is, for example, is PBNSG's got a website. Now we're going to put the SCA on it. Now, if everyone puts the SCA on it, now PBNSG, people don't know who we are. I mean, even though we're the biggest and the only, they still don't know who we are. But maybe because they know Kathleen and they look at what Kathleen's doing, it's a connection that they didn't know. I don't want to say it's a one-stop connection for speakers, for IT marketing great people, for web designers, for doctors, nutritionists, organizations, retreats. It's got everything to make your life better. Everything. So you don't have to look around and get, the internet. You could just go to one place and take a few moments and find your person. And if you didn't like this person, we got 6 more, 7 more. You'll know them from their bio. You could interview them, and they're not here to like gouge people. They're here to make it fair, make it right, and help. And that's the impetus.
Perfect.
And so where do you see the organization in 5 years? What's your vision?
Wow.
I have one myself, but
Why don't you tell me yours?
well, I have from day one just envisioned it was actually a scene that was dropped on me. And it reminded me of PCRM's campaign for Ditch Milk. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Where they had billboards and they had signs on the side of buses and on benches and just all over Washington, D.C. as they were lobbying to get milk commercials taken off of television. And in doing that, they succeeded. And I often thought about, wow, we're not seeing any milk commercials anymore, right? And I bet a lot of people had that thought cross their mind without really realizing the work that went into and the people that were involved in creating that effect. And I see something like that as it relates to the work that the professionals are coming together to do in the Sage Circle Alliance. And whether it's, the whole thing, human health, non-human health, and planetary health, just making sure that things like the Ozempic and other commercials that we see on television that people are now saying, going to the doctor and saying, I think I have this, and getting on medications that, are first of all, synthetic. While they may have their place in acute situations, they don't have a place in where people should be normally living. And so I see the organization and the people that are coming in from all 3 of these disciplines as being the ones to create the wheel that causes commercials like that off of television.
Yeah. It's funny. I've never seen so many happy, sick people. Like I've seen it. And I think to myself, and again, absolutely no judgment, but it's like, there's some real issues with that commercial that really offend me.
We should be seeing happy, well people.
Yes,
right?
Yes. I'm sorry, but
good food and
I can't go any further.
Well, I'll go a little further because I'm appalled at what I see on the commercials. And what's interesting is they'll do a fast food commercial for pizza, Burger King, McDonald's, whatever commercial happens to come on. And then right after that, oh, it's a Pepto-Bismol commercial. And, without people realizing it, they are being indoctrinated. They are being conditioned to believe that, okay, if I go eat this food, well, there is a solution for it. And it's a Band-Aid. It is not a solution. And
because I am going to have heartburn. I am going to have
crazy
stuff happening.
And that one commercial where the woman, she was dancing in the park, they got rid of that commercial because on YouTube, I went and read the reviews. People were livid. So now they put a woman in an office who sings the same song. She's just as happy and she's just as sick. She's not as overweight, but that's one of the big things is they normalize issues that should not be normalized. I mean, there's this whole thing right now that we shouldn't say the word obesity, that people they're not obese. They are afflicted with obesity. No, they are obese.
It's a health condition now.
I could run with this one.
Let's drop it down.
Yeah.
Let's drop it down. And I say that to you guys because, for 12 years, I was that guy going, this is wrong. And I was screaming at the top of the mountains.
Right.
Where to get me? It got me to the Sage Circle Alliance, but it got me to where I'm saying it's the way I'm doing it isn't working. I don't have ultimate money. I don't have the commercials.
Right.
I don't have a food that puts dopamine. I don't have any of that stuff. But what I do have is a group of kind, caring, and the science is on our side.
Right.
Yes.
So that's where I finally realized that we have to, all of us here, do the heavy lifting because we'll probably never see the promised land. Like you asked.
You are correct.
What's 5 years from now? My first reaction was, I hope we're still around.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Okay. And if we are in 5 years, that means we've made some difference and some dent. Mm-hmm. And then I hope in 5 years, there's another generation of young people who are as motivated as we are to make a world of difference.
I love it. And, to your point, Paul, I'm totally there and love the fact that Kathleen and I can sometimes get out there and need to be dialed in. But we are the Veganpreneur Revolution Podcast, and we are about creating the fuel and the increased momentum in this revolution. And for us, it's, why are we doing this if we can't step up? And I don't even want to say step on toes. I just want to say get noticed.
Right.
Be visible in this conversation, because if it's not seen, it's out of mind, right? Out of sight, out of mind. Hey, we want to be on people's mind.
I love what Kathleen was saying. I do. And I'm letting you know, I feel exactly the way she does. I just personally have started realizing that the extreme Paul, it felt good and it looked good at times. And maybe it got people's attention, which is okay. But, again, it's exhausting.
And you're right. And here's what my solution is, because, I can get on tangents, but I had somebody recently who wanted to sell me the magic potion to get rid of inflammation. And I'm like, well, I don't really need the magic potion. I'm happy with my protocol. And the question was, what is your protocol? I said, I'm a plant-based, whole food, plant-based, vegan, yada, yada, yada. Kind of said that. And, there was a little pushback, and I thought, how do I respond to things like that? I wrote a blog post, and it's a phenomenal blog post. It's about 2,000 words, very well researched. And I started with my own personal story of how I eliminated my inflammation. And at nearly the age of 70, I don't have inflammation like a lot of people do. And it's because of the way I eat. So I thought, okay, what is my solution? What is the way that I address it? I write blog posts. I do podcast shows. I join organizations like Sage Circle Alliance. And yes, I do get upset at times. I do, because it's like I hear stuff that is, I have a friend that he almost lost his foot. He was going blind. He had open heart surgery. He's about 100 pounds overweight. He refuses to give up the foods that caused it. And I told him, I said, we can't have this discussion anymore about what you eat or what the solution is, because I've told you. So my solution is, what can I do to reach as many people as possible with a logical perspective and well-researched perspective. So I appreciate what you said, Paul, because I can get, I can get on my soapbox, and that doesn't get us really too far at all.
Well,
And that
the
can
best
cause
move
heart
you
problems.
made, really a really great move you made was meeting me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, for sure.
Because now we got two fireballs yelling it out there.
Eileen has her moments.
Yeah.
Eileen definitely has her moments.
I want to record that moment. I do. I'd love to see it.
You heard a little bit of it. Maybe I have a little more compassion coming through my end.
She kind of calms and smooths things over, because seriously, sometimes I feel like responding to things. I had a woman the other day on Quora who was saying, "What's wrong with eating at McDonald's?" And I said, "Well, here's what I know about McDonald's meat." And I mean, she kept pushing. No matter what I gave her, I had statistics. I had that they get their factory farmed meat, on and on. And finally, I said, "You know what? It's apparent that all you want to do is push back, and that's you be you." I said, "I'm not going to engage any further. I've given you plenty of information. That's it."
I want to just share too that I believe that those who are in those spaces, the food and pharma spaces, they're shifting so that they can retain some of the market share that they've already garnered. If you do watch any television, you've probably seen the Impossible commercials. They look just like the Pizza Hut and Burger King commercials, but they're coming through and they're actually swatting down the French fries and putting, plant-based something in its place, and pushing away the plate of spaghetti and meatballs that's real meat and putting in front of it the Impossible meatballs. And so they're trying to capture some of the marketplace. And I have to say too, that I went through my period, sometimes change happens immediately. If I'm going to go under the knife and somebody says it's the knife, which is possible death, and change your lifestyle, I'm going to go, what do I need to do to change my lifestyle? Eat different? Okay. Fruits and vegetables? Heck yeah. Or, I'm looking at, I'm not that bad health-wise, and I know what I've grown up on, what I'm used to, and these plant-based meats that are coming in. I don't know about the genetically
modified
grown in the lab. That's not something that I do at all ever. But who's to say? Maybe Beyond and Impossible are doing that. I doubt it, but those are what I would consider the gateways,
right,
for people to help them to make this transition. So instead of a cheeseburger with, the 8-pound patty and, the cheese that's dairy, that's all of that's killing you, to go to a plant-based burger with vegan cheese, you do have a healthier option. And you do have a way to get more into the side of things where you can go whole food, plant-based, because your taste buds change. Your brain acts differently. Your body reacts differently. When I talk to somebody and, let's talk poop for a minute.
Okay. It sounds like Dr. B's on the call.
They say I haven't pooped in 2 days or 5 days or, a week. I'm like, that is not good.
Yeah. Look at the Bristol stool chart. And
what's the Bristol stool chart?
It's a chart of what it should look like and when it's bad.
Oh, okay.
And it's an interesting chart because as much as this is kind of a taboo thing, you go whole food plant-based, pooping's never a problem.
You got, and Dr. Will wears a shirt like that. He was on some podcast, I think Rich Rolls, and they were both wearing eat plants, have big poops. And it's like, yeah, nothing wrong with having that conversation.
Okay, since we're going to do this, then I got a little thing I want to share with you. But the beautiful thing is you go in the morning and it truly feels like you're just cleaned out, ready to go for the day with energy.
You are.
Yes.
Let's go. And it's a beautiful feeling.
Drop it and go.
One thing to keep in mind.
I think I'm going to call this episode the drop and go.
I would say to everybody too, like, there was a point in time where, when I went to the hospital, they served me the most atrocious food after the stent. And I started reflecting at, am I mad at the hospital for serving terrible, unhealthy food? Am I mad at the medical schools for not teaching enough nutrition to future doctors? Or am I mad at doctors for not offering up, as the first question, what do you eat before you start slinging the pills and procedures?
Right.
And then I realized the people I'm probably most mad at are the people, meaning it isn't the 50s, 60s, 70s. You have the ability, anybody, to do a deep dive on what ails you, to become smart and educated, be able to ask questions. I bring my wife with me because sometimes I'm thinking of the next question and she's listening, or I record it sometimes just because I want to make sure. So at the end of the day, we are lucky that we have all this great information. I learned a lot about LP(a) because of it. The fact is that people, if you want to get healthier, don't wait around for the hospitals to serve you bad food. Don't wait around for the doctor to give you the magic elixir or ask you how you're feeling. And the future isn't even any better because medical schools are not teaching it. You own your life. Dive into it, get the answers, ask questions. Just ask questions. There's answers.
Right. So there you go. There you go.
Love it.
What a great conversation. And I want to remind people about the Sage Circle Alliance. I encourage you, go check out the website. It's sagecirclealliance.org. And on there, you're going to find just a wealth of information about the plant-based vegan movement, about businesses, about nutritionists. Anything that you want is going to be there. And what I love about being a member, V-Lynn and I are both members. We're founding members. What I love about being a member is there's a speakers bureau. So if you're a member, you can join at a level where you actually have your information put into the pool, if you will, of people available for speaking engagements, whether it be a non-paid or a paid speaking engagement. There's going to be a section on books that members have written and recommendations. There are business services like V-Lynn and I. We are business strategists. We are visibility strategists, which covers a lot of territory. You want to know how to start a podcast? We can show you how to do that. You want to get on podcast shows? That's what we do. So we're just one piece of what's going on. We're also on the marketing committee, and we're working on the crowdfunding. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to network with like-minded people. And what I love is you have these conversations with people who have similar beliefs around lifestyle medicine, the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, about eating healthy, about taking control of our lives. Because that's the thing. It's like you can give your power away, or you can embrace your power and say, today. And I heard this recently. It was on a podcast show, and I was on a walk at the time out near one of my favorite spots. And it was about how any choice that you make right here, right now, is it moving you closer to your outcome that you want or further away? I want to be healthy. And since I'm the oldest one in this group, I can be a little cranky at times. That's just as an elder, I can be cranky. So even though it's only by 2 months, V-Lynn, and what I encourage people to do is go check out Sage Circle Alliance, sagecirclealliance.org. Check it out. And do yourself a favor, join the organization.
Cranky? No, it's passionate. Okay, you're not cranky. You're just passionate. I like that.
Well, yeah, it depends who you ask.
Yeah, like I said, this is the kind of fun we have together, and the Sage Circle Alliance. It could make a world of difference, and we need your help.
Right on.
Awesome.
Well, Paul, this has been delightful. And in closing, I just want to thank you for all that you're doing. You are making a difference in the world. I know sometimes it's an uphill climb and other times you're kind of coasting, but that is few and far between. It's when you're on your bicycle taking those 25-mile rides that you're coasting. But I just so appreciate who you are. I'm so glad we connected in this lifetime. And V-Lynn, obviously, I just adore you and I appreciate all you're doing. In closing, what are your final thoughts, V-Lynn?
I ditto, really, to be a part of what we're doing in the world with Vegan Visibility Productions, with the Veganpreneur Revolution podcast, and being really involved in the launch of the Sage Circle Alliance. I am really grateful to be able to do that and to know great people like Paul Chatlin.
All righty. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Have a great day.
You too.
You've been listening to the Veganpreneur Revolution Podcast Show with Vegan Hawkins and Kathleen Gage. Be sure to leave a review, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel. And visit our website at veganvisibilityproductions.com. That's veganvisibilityproductions.com. Have a great day and live healthy.